Why is there an elevated heel in just about every shoe you can buy? You can look it up, and it's pretty hard to find a convincing reason that this is actually beneficial, let alone why every shoe needs to have it. Some people would say that this is just one way that mainstream footwear is designed to handicap your feet. One of the strategies that big footwear companies use to keep people's feet weak and dependent on their shoes. This is just one belief of the barefoot shoe religion. On the other hand, maybe this is just one of many conspiracy theories from people who themselves are being scammed into buying overpriced leather bags for shoes. So, are barefoot shoes a big scam, or are modern shoes really ruining your feet? To answer that, we have to go back to the question that kind of started all of this. Why were people from a canyon in Mexico with tires strapped to their feet able to run hundreds of miles at a time and demolish elite US marathon, ultra-marathon runners? Yeah. This actually did happen. These are the Tarahumara people. They wear these sandals that are pretty much a cutout strip of old truck tire, and they just strap them to their feet, and for fun, they will run like 200 plus miles. They're known as like a running people, and in 1994, they came out to a US ultramarathon 100-mile race, and it was a breeze. They just killed everybody. All these US people with their bigger, heavier, high-tech shoes didn't stand a chance.
Some 36 minutes behind new record holder Juan Herrera.
And second question is, how are they fine while the majority of US runners with high-tech shoes get injured every year? That's true. At least 50% of regular runners get hurt each year. Some estimates put the percentage even higher. And then these guys rarely get injured, run all the time, strong ankles and feet. So, one conclusion of this is, we need tire shoes. Wait, our shoes aren't helping, at least. And this kind of comes from this book, published in 2009. Tells this whole story and suggests this idea. And that went crazy style. If you were around at the time, the barefoot shoe companies arise. So you got Luna sandals, right? Just the simple straps and a flat rubber sole. Then Zero Shoes, also in 2009, come out with some sandals. Yes, they are pieces of string. They've come away since then. And then in 2012, you get Vivo Barefoot, where you can hopefully get all the same benefits of these kinds of sandals, but you can have a closed-toed shoe on. So there's this big cultural phenomenon where a bunch of people want to wear these kinds of shoes, and they go out and instantly get injured.
Don't you dare! No!
They put their pampered little Midwest feet in some minimal footwear like this and think they can instantly just run like someone who literally grew up in the rainforest. So podiatrists did really well. And it turns out your feet just need time to adjust and adapt to these new kinds of shoes. You can't just make the switch right away. But there's tons of people who got over that curve and have had life-changing benefits from wearing barefoot shoes, and they still preach those benefits today. But as we saw a little bit ago, some people take it a step too far. For example, check this out. Any criticism of the barefoot shoe idea is taken as sacrilege. If you don't know, I've made videos about barefoot shoes for years, and there was one video recently that provoked this group. So background is, we know that just biomechanically, physics, elevating your heel compared to your forefoot reduces impact forces on your ankle. And there was a study that was just getting more granular data. What I made the video about was actually kind of a side note finding of the study, where somehow wearing a minimal shoe with a flat sole was harder on your foot than just being barefoot on the ground. So maybe there's effects of wearing any shoe at all that we don't fully understand. Maybe barefoot shoes don't replicate being barefoot on the ground as well as we thought. And that awoke the beast. This is sacrilege. You're being paid by Big Shoe. The study funded by the Big Shoe. This is just a study to keep people wearing shoes that hurt them, so the medical industry and Big Pharma can keep cashing in on the damage it's causing. I was like, this is the moment that I realized that the barefoot shoe religion is kind of a real thing. So then I'm remembering how whenever you talk about barefoot shoes, there's always comments where people are saying, this isn't barefoot enough, this isn't wide enough, there's too much cushioning. I actually just don't wear shoes at all, I'm barefoot all the time, whatever, right? But then even considering a more nuanced perspective on it flags you as an enemy. That's dogma, that's dogmatic. And maybe this is something worth talking about, this video. Other people have definitely noticed this too. People might be interested in barefoot ideas. They don't want to have to join this barefoot shoe religion of people, right? And it actually might turn them off to the whole idea. And they're right to be skeptical, because guess what? I got an A+ in logic in college. These barefoot shoe religion folk rely on some pretty fallacious arguments. Let's play a game. Guess the fallacy. So here's an argument, and you gotta guess what the fallacy is. We're human beings, and the sun is the sun. How can it be bad for you? I don't think anything that is natural can be bad for you. 1, 2, please like the video, please. 3. This is the Gwyneth Paltrow fallacy. She actually did say that in 2013. Also known as appeal to nature. And it's a really dangerous one because it's easy to fall into. A lot of times natural stuff does tend to be better than unnatural stuff. But if it's me versus a bear, it might be natural for me to be eaten, but I would rather have a tank. I think that would be more healthy for me in that moment, even though it's unnatural. Whenever you hear about microplastics, it's always in the balls for some reason. So I feel like it's not a bad idea to just be careful with what you're putting directly on them. They're called nads, and I bought my first pair of them like a year ago, and now I have like 12 pairs. They're made with organic cotton instead of whatever weird stuff is in a lot of conventional underwear, which has been found to lead to lower testosterone and stuff like that. So I'm not saying there's a huge problem that you have to fix and you have to wear these or you're gonna be screwed, but I love these underwear, and I just asked if I could be an affiliate for them, and they said yeah. So I have this code SIMPLE, and if you use it, you'll get 15% off of an order of Nads underwear. They have boxer briefs, boxers, a bunch of different stuff. They will spam your email with balls jokes. But okay, guess that fallacy number 2. Here's the argument. The standard modern shoes are too restrictive and over-engineered, so you should wear barefoot shoes. Think about it. Modern shoes, too restrictive, so wear barefoot shoes. If you got it, like the video. Okay, that's right. This is the Morpheus fallacy.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland.
But in reality, Neo could reach out, grab those spectacles right off of Morpheus's face. Eat them. Maybe not. Morpheus probably would have. But the point is, there might actually be more than 2 options. Another false dilemma, you can wear barefoot shoes or you can have feet like LeBron. Not true, right? That's an exaggeration. So then is all this BS and barefoot shoe companies are just capitalizing on people willing to buy under-designed, overpriced shoes? A lot of people seem to think so. Another fad, another money grab. Well, there's certainly some companies that are basically selling or drop shipping cheap Chinese shoes and just marketing them with barefoot lingo to try to get more sales. That's definitely a thing. They're trying to exploit the people willing to buy barefoot shoes. Or even some companies like Zero, a super popular barefoot shoe brand, have been critiqued for selling shoes with kind of cheap synthetic materials or falling apart quickly and then selling them for, $100 or whatever. But shoe companies do this in every industry with every kind of shoe, right? It's just part of the game. And it doesn't mean that barefoot shoes, like the idea of barefoot shoes, is a scam. Plus there's a lot of companies that do sell high quality, well-made barefoot shoes, even if they might be a little bit marked up, honestly. So once again, this whole thing is actually kind of operating on a false dilemma. Either barefoot shoes are good or it's a gimmick and modern shoes are actually good. That's not true. Turns out, as many things are, this is actually kind of nuanced. So here's some specific things that are actually good about modern shoes and that are good about barefoot shoes. So first, modern shoes. People get older. People gain weight. Your feet can get weakened or not be able to support your body no matter what you do, right? Your tendons can tighten, your arches can start to collapse. This is just a fact for some people. Some people have severe over or under pronation. The fact is, sometimes you have compromised feet and you could benefit from more cushioning or some more structure in your shoe. Or if you have flat feet, or maybe more specifically, like just weak arches, you can have a much more pleasant experience if you have some arch support in your shoe, right? Even though it's probably not gonna fix your issue, right? And then sometimes you're doing supernatural things, right? Maybe you're playing basketball, pivoting, you're sprinting on a hard, flat surface. You don't want your feet all sliding around in a roomy toe box shoe. Or you're playing soccer and you maybe maybe you want more ball control and it's good to have a tighter toe box. The point is sometimes you need a specialized shoe to do your specialized thing. Think of cleats or whatever. Climbing shoes might be obvious examples, but that's the deal. Some of them require more tech. Now, barefoot shoes. A lot of people try barefoot shoes and they just end up loving them. And when they try to put on their old, more conventional shoes, they hate them. They're no longer comfortable, right? They have this amazing, convincing experience that often happens to people, right? Then having a wider toe box, right? Having more space for your feet to splay out is almost always a better thing. Maybe certain specialized shoes, maybe fashion, that are the only reasons I can think of why squeezing your toes together would be better. Same thing with a flat sole, right? That's probably almost always better, you know, for your posture, for your balance. You're gonna feel better if you're not on an elevated heel most of the time, right? It seems like the best uses for that thicker heel is just for fashion purposes, or if you're just dead set on heel striking really hard, or if you're in a situation where having more forward momentum is better. And then like we talked about with kind of the Tarahumara and everything, barefoot shoes can have significant running benefits. They can help reteach you to run with a forefoot strike instead of a heel foot strike, which we know to be better at this point. You have more feedback from the ground with less cushioning, and especially without that elevated heel, right? It's helpful for that. And then just promoting health and strength across the board, right? Allowing your feet to work, call back if you've seen that video, allows them to strengthen, right? The tendons and muscles in your feet, you get more flexible, your ankles get stronger, and that can help prevent injury and just make you feel better, right? So it's not black and white. There's nuance to footwear, and if anything, we need more shoes in the middle, right? Like I would love more legit sneakers that just have more spacious toe boxes or flat soles. Use code SIMPLE if you want to get some nads though.